On Sunday mornings, Daniel liked to wake up before everyone else. The house was different then, softer, still. He would make coffee quietly, careful not to wake the children, and stand by the kitchen window while the light slowly filled the room. Outside, the neighborhood looked peaceful, lawns trimmed, cars parked neatly, nothing out of place. It was his favorite time of the week. By 9 o'clock, the calm would be gone. The twins would argue about cereal. His son would complain about homework. Ruth would move efficiently through the kitchen, already thinking 3 steps ahead of everyone else. But for a little while, it was just him. Daniel believed in those moments that this was happiness. He had been married to Ruth for 11 years. They had 3 children, a life built carefully, deliberately. The kind of life people nodded at approvingly when he described it. A good job, a solid marriage, healthy kids, nothing spectacular, nothing wrong. Ruth knew the rhythms of the house better than anyone. She remembered appointments without reminders, packed lunches without complaint, made Daniel's coffee the same way every morning, strong, with a little milk, no sugar. They didn't argue much. They also didn't talk much anymore, not about anything that mattered. Love, Daniel told himself, didn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it felt like responsibility. Sometimes it felt like endurance. He assumed that was normal. The day everything began to unravel did not feel important. It was a Thursday, late afternoon. The office was quiet, the kind of quiet that settled in after most people had already gone home. Sunlight slanted through the windows, catching dust in the air. Daniel sat at his desk, rereading an email without absorbing it. His phone buzzed. "Are you still here?" Angela. He stared at the screen longer than necessary. Then he typed back, "Yes." At the time, it felt like nothing. Daniel met Angela 6 months earlier when she started at the firm. She was younger but not careless, divorced, thoughtful. She asked questions that made people pause before answering. When she laughed, it felt unforced. When she listened, she looked directly at you, as if you were the only thing happening. They worked late sometimes. At first, it was practical. Deadlines, projects, shared complaints about management. Then it became familiar. Daniel found himself looking forward to those evenings, to the way Angela noticed him, to how present he felt around her. He told himself it was harmless. At home, life moved efficiently. Dinner, homework, baths, bedtime stories. Ruth managed it all with quiet competence. Daniel helped, but often felt like an assistant in a life she fully controlled. When he lay beside her at night, she fell asleep quickly. He lay awake longer, staring at the ceiling, wondering when he had started feeling so distant from his own life. The first boundary they crossed wasn't physical, it was a conversation. They were sitting across from each other at a small bar near the office. Daniel was halfway through his second drink when Angela asked gently, "Are you happy?" He laughed, reflexively. "Yeah, of course." She didn't smile. "You don't sound like it," she said. Something in him loosened. He talked about exhaustion, about feeling invisible, about how every day felt like repetition instead of progress. Angela didn't interrupt. She didn't tell him he was wrong. When Daniel went home that night, Ruth was on the living room floor with the children, helping them build a crooked tower out of blocks. She smiled when she saw him. Tired, but warm. Daniel felt a flicker of guilt. It passed. The affair began quietly. A drink after work that turned into 2. Conversations that stretched too long. A hand on his arm that lingered. A shared look that acknowledged something neither of them said out loud. Daniel told himself it wasn't betrayal. It didn't affect his children. It didn't change his marriage. It didn't mean anything. The first time he kissed Angela, it happened in her car. The parking garage was dim. The city hummed somewhere above them. When it was over, Daniel sat behind the wheel for a long time, hands resting uselessly in his lap. That night, he kissed his children good night. He lay beside Ruth and listened to her breathing. He promised himself it would stop. It didn't. The affair folded itself into his life. With Angela, Daniel felt light, curious, engaged. He laughed more. He spoke about books and music and ideas he hadn't touched in years. With Ruth, he grew distracted, short-tempered, always elsewhere. Ruth noticed. She noticed the phone he guarded, the smile he didn't explain, the way he seemed absent even when he was sitting right beside her. She didn't accuse him. She waited. Weeks passed, then months. Daniel missed a school recital because of a meeting. He forgot Ruth's birthday for the first time in their marriage. He stayed late more often, his excuses arriving too smoothly. The house felt different. Even with 3 children, it felt quieter. One night after the kids were asleep, Ruth spoke. "I feel like you're not here anymore," she said. Daniel sighed. "I'm just stressed." "So am I," she replied. He didn't hear the hurt in her voice. Angela began to ask questions, not demands, just questions. "Does your wife know how unhappy you are? Have you ever thought about leaving? What happens to us?" Daniel avoided answering. He loved his children. He loved Ruth. In his way. He also loved how he felt with Angela. He believed he could carry all of it. The truth came out accidentally. Ruth found the messages while searching for a photo on Daniel's phone. A name she didn't recognize. Words that didn't belong to coworkers. She read everything. When Daniel came home, she was sitting on the bed, impossibly calm. "Who is Angela?" she asked. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Ruth listened as he tried to explain. He said mistake. He said confused. He said didn't mean to hurt you. She asked about the children. She asked how long. She asked if he loved her. Daniel said, "I don't know." That was when something in Ruth finally broke. The weeks that followed were unbearable. Daniel moved to the guest room. Ruth functioned on autopilot. The children sensed the shift and asked questions no one answered honestly. Daniel tried to repair the damage. He ended the affair. He offered therapy. He promised transparency. Ruth listened. She did not forgive him. After months, she chose to stay. For the children. Their marriage continued, thinner now. Careful, polite. Years passed. From the outside, their family looked intact. From the inside, something essential was gone. One night, long after the children were grown, Ruth sat beside Daniel and said quietly, "I don't think I ever came back." Daniel understood. Ruth never left him. She simply stopped belonging to him. And Daniel carried that knowledge for the rest of his life. The understanding that some betrayals don't destroy families. They destroy something quieter, something you only realize was holding everything together after it's already gone.